Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
Imagine consuming 31 real whole fruits and vegetables every day. More nutrients from fruits and veggies can help our bodies with energy levels, strengthening our immune system, and so much more. Balance of Nature has taken 31 real fruits and veggies and powdered them into capsules, locking in maximum nutrition. Try Balance of Nature with 35% off any Frizz preferred order, plus free shipping with promo code YES. Just go to balanceofnature.com and enter promo code YES to get 35% off. Give your body the natural boost it needs with Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com, promo code YES for 35% off.
Hi, this is Lori Johnson with Hancock Whitney Bank, and you're listening to Local Leaders, the podcast. Visit localleadersthepodcast.com for previous episodes or for information on appearing on the show.
Hey everyone, it's Jim Chapman with Local Leaders, the podcast, and today I am joined by Tracy Girlinghouse. He is a councilman for District 7. So welcome to Local Leaders, the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Jim.
So everybody kind of knows, well, I say everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people know the councilman in this area, but they may not know a lot of history behind that councilman in their district. So you are in District 7. I guess the first question would be, what does that cover?
District 7 covers the entirety of the city of Walker, but it would be the east side of Jubin Road, you know, where the Taco Bell is. And
yes.
all the way over on the other side of the interstate. Just to, I think it would be Buddy Ellis.
Yeah.
And then kind of up Buddy Ellis on the right, on the I guess the north side of Buddy Ellis, all the way up to Walker. And then it kind of does this jaggedy line.
Yeah.
On the other side of the interstate.
Makes a dog leg left.
Yeah. And
oh, yeah.
You know, it goes up and, you know, just past, I'd say like waste management. And then it goes, well, I'm going to give you the thing. It kind of goes through the woods.
Yeah.
Goes out on Courtney Road. And I have that up to like, the Arnold Road on the Walker side of Arnold Road.
Gotcha.
So, you know, they make these things just so they can make the populations even out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically the Walker area.
Gotcha.
You know?
And it's interesting. I have people call me every now and then. They'll be like, man, I don't know what district I'm in. And of course I tell them, oh, you can go look on the map. They have one on the parish council website and they'll call me back and they'll say, man, I can't tell which one, you know, I'm right on the edge there between this one and that one. And I said, well, just call the parish office.
That's what I was going to say.
Give them your address.
If you, when in doubt, just call the parish council's office. They'll take your address and they can tell you right then whose district you fall in.
Absolutely. So you grew up in Walker?
Yes. My parents moved in Walker in 1969.
Oh, wow.
I built a house and I was born in 70. So I've never known anything else except for my time in the service.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I've been a Walker person all my life.
All your life. And you went to high school, I would imagine, at Walker High?
Yeah. So
Wildcats?
Yes, indeed. To the core, you know.
To the core.
Yeah. Kindergarten, I think it was in one of the first kindergarten classes they actually taught.
Yeah.
It was right there across from the old high school, you know, which is now, I think it was a freshman high last year. Now I think it's a junior high again.
Gotcha.
You know, everybody knows if you live there, the old building.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
And the junior high was, the kindergarten was across the street, I think, where they teach the GED classes, or did at one time. Right across the street there.
Awesome.
Beside where the old Cox's supermarket was.
Yeah.
So I had kindergarten, then it was a half day thing. And then I just went straight through K to 12 to Walker.
Fantastic. And at some point you landed in the military, as you just mentioned. What branch?
I was in the Army. I was in Army National Guard.
Awesome.
8 years. You do a 6 and 2.
Yeah.
6 years active, 2 years inactive. And so I decided to stay in, do my inactive years on active guard, if you will.
Yeah.
But I did do almost 2 years on a training status with the Guard. So I was in the actual Army for 2 years, learning trades and stuff like that. So it was good. It's good stuff.
Good experience.
Absolutely. It was my mom liked to have a heart attack when I joined.
Yeah.
But I loved it.
Of
course, it's like anything else. When you look back, you only remember the good stuff, and the bad stuff your brain protects you from.
Right.
Because
there was a little bit of that in the military.
There was quite a bit of that, But look, I would do it again. It was definitely a learning experience, and it's something you carry with you the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
You're just the way you're goal oriented.
Yes.
The downside is in the military, there's a lot of, you live in that black and white world where it's either yes or no, or right or wrong. And, where you understand the real world kind of lives more in the gray area.
Right.
So, but that mentality works well in business. It works well in your thought process when you're, even government, doesn't work so well at the house. No,
there is no gray area at the house.
There is. But you had to go.
Yes.
I know this is a bad idea, but I'll go ahead and do it anyway.
That's exactly right. But one thing it gave you, I would also imagine, is some leadership skills for what you would eventually do, which is be a community leader, right?
Absolutely. It's so strange. Whenever I was in the service, I could stand in front of 200 soldiers, if you will, and just and bark out the day's stuff. Here's what we're doing today. We're doing this. We're doing this, and doing this. And it never occurred to me to be nervous or the crowd thing didn't bother me.
Right.
When you start doing this, and I was terrified.
Yeah.
I was absolutely terrified to do public speaking.
Yeah.
Because when you talk to people, and not to say soldiers aren't people, but everybody knows, look, you do this, this is what I'm doing. And, you tell somebody what they're going to do, and then that's it.
Yeah. There's no question.
There's no questions. There's no, look, hey, no, drive on.
Yes.
Orders. So whenever I started doing public speaking, I was mortified, but I also knew that, things that bother me, things that scare me, things I have to tackle those things.
Yes.
And so I look at some of my podcasts, I look at some of my interviews when I first started, and I'm like, God, it was horrible.
Well, you're always going to be your own worst critic.
Absolutely. And I'm just like, I need to improve that. I need to improve this. And look, I've come to the realization that, you'll be improving and working on it until you take your last breath.
That's exactly right.
So
and challenging yourself, no matter what it is an important concept. You're talking about public speaking. I'll tell a quick story about my wife. She was like you, hated to get up in front of people and do any talking. She doesn't want to be the center of attention, any of that. And I was really impressed at the way she beat that. She said, I'm going to do the reading at church. And if I go up there in front of, 1,000-person congregation and read the word, I will tackle that fear. Mm-hmm. And she did it. And she did it for a long time. And every time she did it, she got a little less and a little less nervous.
That's right. And that's pretty much how I did it.
Yeah.
And I've told this story before. When I was the mayor pro-tem of Walker, I didn't have to do a lot of, stand up and speaking when I was running.
Yeah.
It was more like, hey, you remember me?
Yeah.
Vote for me. But they had a World War II reenactment at Sidney Hutchinson Park in Walker.
Yeah.
And the mayor at the time, Mayor Ramsey, said, look, you want to speak? And I was like, no. And it really wasn't that big of a crowd. I was like, nah, you got it. I'm good.
Yeah.
And he says, okay. And so he gets up and speaks, and then at the very end, he goes, oh, and the mayor pro tem wants to say a word too. And I was like, are you kidding me? He just threw it on me.
Yeah.
So I got up there and I bumbled, and I'm just glad there's not a recording of that, because it would be, it was horrible.
I'm going to look for that.
It was
I'm Googling
so bad. And look, it wasn't even just me. Like, it was windy and the flag flew over and the flag almost hit me in the head. It was almost like the worst case scenario. So I just come down off I come down after I was finished, and I was just like, oh. And he just looked at me straight face. He says, well, there you go. I was like, well, what do you mean there you go? He goes, next time you do it, it'll be better.
Yeah.
He goes, he goes, well, it has to be.
Yeah.
But, I thank him for that, because I needed that. I needed that first time. You do it the first time, it's better. And then you get better and you get better and you get better. And, but still, sometimes it still creeps up on you, like,
sure.
I could do this 10 times, sit and talk to you or talk to a group of people. And one of those times I'm going to get up and I'm going to be like, I can feel this, like, oh, what are you going to do? And I'm just like, squash that.
Yes.
You need to squash that. You're fine.
Yeah.
So the best thing is to just be yourself.
That's right. That's right. And that is really the best medicine for that. And repetition on things, anything that makes you uncomfortable in life, listeners out there, the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. Mm-hmm. And there's never going to be a situation, I speak all the time, and talk to everybody, all kinds of different people in the community. And I still get nervous, from time to time. I'll feel that voice quiver, and I can't control it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Then you really have a panic attack.
Oh yeah. You can't let it compound. Because if you start thinking about it, it'll compound. And then the next thing you know, you can't even remember what you were going to say. And you just kind of have to just,
and then
it's like it
gets even worse.
The hand on the chessboard, you just go,
that's right. Over, That's right. Good advice. Now, somewhere along the point, so you mentioned you were a mayor pro temp, and then eventually you decided you were going to run for, was it city council and then parish council?
No, I was,
well, you were the city councilman then.
And then the pro temp, and then at the time, the parish council I felt like was in a disarray, They were making news, but it wasn't actually good news. That's for the reporters and the newspaper. They always go where there's contention.
Sure.
And there was a lot there. And
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
I was considering it, and then, someone asked me if I would do it, and I went back and forth on that. In my brain, I was like, I kind of like it where I'm at. But I also knew going over there would be a challenge, and so that's when I decided, I have to accept this challenge. I have to go do it because, I felt like that I didn't feel like my predecessor was he wasn't doing a bad job, and he just, I know that him and the parish president, they couldn't even stay in the same room together. And if you can't have a dialogue, then you can't get anything done. I felt like there was no dialogue there. And so I had known the parish president he was an x-ray tech by trade. Yeah. And so I had met him probably 94, 95, around that time frame, and had worked for him, for his employer. And I had a good rapport with him. So I just said, well, at least I can go talk to him. We might not agree. And, this job is a learning process.
Absolutely.
You really do learn on the job.
Right. Not many people get into, let's say, parish politics and they already know everything there is to know about drainage, right?
Well, and sometimes that's the assumption.
Yeah.
And also the assumption is a lot that goes on at the parish and at the administrative level that we don't know. Mm. I mean, they don't come out and just share everything with us. I mean, and a lot of people think that, they think, well, y'all, this happened. Why didn't you say anything? I didn't even know that happened.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are afraid to say that. I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, I just say, look, they didn't share that with me.
Yeah.
I found out.
You don't know what you don't know.
And so we can address it after the fact, or we can address it whenever I find out. We can see what we can do to change it, you know.
Absolutely.
But we don't know everything that's going on because, and look, it stands to reason to some degree that should be that way. The parish president's job, the administrator, that's a full-time job. I mean, that's what they do.
Yes.
They get up in the morning, they go do that, you know.
Yeah.
We're part-time employees.
Yeah.
You know, now that kind of gives this false narrative that we're only doing this job, 10, 15 hours a week.
Yeah.
And that is false.
Right.
It's constant. I mean, you saw before you can come on, I'm on the phone talking, you know, it's phone calls and networking and talking to people and trying to get ahead of things and research.
Yes.
Yeah. And, you know, we have the staff at who are full-time employees, you know, the secretaries and the women in our office. And if we say, I need research on this, they'll go do it for us.
Sure.
You know, but sometimes you just it's about calling someone in the parish and finding out exactly what the story is.
Yes.
To try to get ahead of it, because there's always a story. There's
always
two sides or three sides or even
Yes.
four sides. And so you have to get the whole picture before you can go out there and, you know, make a judgment on if you have the authority to do so.
Yes.
You know, and try to, you know, right the ship.
Right. So you made that jump and you decided I'm gonna go for parish council, and you win.
Yep.
Right out the gate, first time. And how long have you been a parish councilman?
Let's see. I'm in my fourth, fifth, sixth. I'm in my sixth year
Wow.
right now. So
Okay.
this coming January will be the beginning of my seventh year. So,
Awesome. Yeah. What was it like to win that? You know, was it something where when you kind of entered the race, you were like, you know, I may win this, but
nah, you know, I always run
to win,
but
sure.
you know, obviously, but I'll lay everything out there. You know, I really treat it like anybody who's running a race. You know, at any point, whether you're the incumbent, you need to run like you're 2 votes down, all the time, and you need to work and work and work, and then you need to. And to me, I go, you know, the closer you get to the election day, the more hours you need to work.
Yes.
You need to go hit people. You need to go knock on doors, and there's no other better way to win than you got to get in front of people and 100%. Try to explain your vision.
Yeah.
But you know, unfortunately, you do need the signs, and you do need, you know, the immediate media attention, and you know, you have to go and basically sell yourself.
Hi, everyone. This is Representative Buddy Mincer Jr. I represent the Denham Springs and the Walker area, and I'm here today to talk to you about a very important topic. According to the 2020 census, Louisiana is the third hungriest state in the nation. This means 1 in 4 children are living in a food insecure home. Food insecurity is, simply put, a lack of access to affordable and nutritious food. Livingston Parish Public Schools have over 26,000 students, and approximately 7,825 of those students fall under the definition of food insecure. This is why Mighty Moms started the Full Tummy Project in 2010. For more information on Mighty Moms and the Full Tummy Project, visit mightymomsgo.org and find out how you can sponsor a child for a 2021 school year and help us end childhood hunger in our community.
Yeah.
And you know, it was interesting. When I won the parish council race, we had everybody typically has a party.
Yeah.
You know, and there was 3 or 4 of us there at the head that were running, and I've already done it once. You know, the city was much smaller, but it was still, and that I felt like that was my the one where I felt excited and, you know, really, you know, like, I can't believe I just won, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But on that one, I was just so tired. You know, I mean,
it's a lot of work.
That day I worked I plan on working up until 5 o'clock, the election day, and then going home, taking a shower, getting dressed, and going up to where we were having the event where we watched the results and stuff like that. And it started raining really hard, at around 3. So I just told everybody, look, pick it up. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to stand out here in the rain. I'm not going to, ask anybody else to do that. And volunteers, you don't want to do that. So I just picked it up. And more importantly, no one else was doing it.
Yeah.
If my opponent was doing it, then I'd have told everybody to go home and I'd have stood out there.
Right.
That's just because, there'd be nothing worse than to lose by a few votes. But I would be okay with that too if I did everything. And look, I'm going to do everything, Yeah,
you leave everything on the table and you're proud of your effort.
And the same time,
it is what it is.
I was just really tired, and so I was like, but look, I was so wound up in it. I say, kind of tell this as a joke. I would wake up in the middle of the night, like a full 2 weeks after the election, and go, "Did I call this person?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Wait, the election's over. You already, you won.
Yeah,
go back to sleep."
Yeah, you had programmed yourself to that.
And it took me a while to unwind from that mode.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it just because you have to be invested. You have to work, but then you have to do at the same time. I was still doing my work at the city.
Yeah.
So and my regular job.
Yes.
So
you got a job, right? In between all this.
Yeah, I was. It was a lot. It was a lot. It's a lot to do that. It takes a lot out of you to do something like that if you're going to do it right.
You're exactly right. It is really, the election process is probably more difficult than once you get into office. As far as the exhaustion.
It absolutely is. If it isn't, no, it is. It is because you got a certain amount of time to get everything done, and it comes down to sometimes it comes down to a few votes.
Yeah.
And, you have to go out and try to reach people.
Yes.
And try to sell them on your vision of how you want things to move forward. Yeah. And then you get into office and you realize that it's not what you thought.
Yeah.
The process is different. You have to kind of buy into the system to some degree, but be committed to changing it.
Sure.
Everybody runs on change, because if change wasn't, if people didn't want change, then they would always elect the same people over and over again.
Very good point.
So you run on change, and then you come in, and then you have to realize you have to be committing to changing it. And a lot of the same people who say, "Well, we don't want to change things," but I don't want to do anything different.
Yeah.
Well, we have to do something different.
It's the definition of insane.
Yeah, it is. And you have to do something different because we can't stay on the path that we're on.
Yes. Yes. And life changes. I mean, things change, and you have to be able to kind of roll with that process. And I tell people all the time, some people think it's a bad idea or it's not good if, a politician says something that he can't come back and change his mindset on something. And I've always been a big believer. And one thing I respected with our former president was the fact that he wasn't afraid to admit, "Hey, I changed my mind on this."
Yeah. And I've done that, it's human.
It's human.
I have made decisions that I wish I would have done the opposite on.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel like I've made decisions that I wish I wouldn't have made, but I've never made a decision I was ashamed of.
There you go.
And and because if you make a decision that you're ashamed of, at some point in there you knew you were making the wrong decision, and which means why?
Yes.
Why would you make the wrong decision knowingly? And I haven't done that. Now I have made decisions I've looked back and with 20/20 hindsight and went,
yeah.
Well,
you have more information now than you had then, and
sometimes it's more. It's less. It's more than that. It's just that things didn't happen the way you thought they would.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. Look, to err is human.
Sure.
And that you learn from that. Someone once told me, they said,
If cowboy boots are on the holiday wish list, give the gift of Tecovas. Their Western boots for men and women are handcrafted from top-notch hides in a variety of timeless and fashion-forward styles that'll have everyone on your list saying yeehaw. Or stop by your neighborhood Tecova store, grab a cold one, and shop the finest leather and Western goods in the land. Start off gifting season on the right foot at Tecovas.com. That's Tecovas.com. Don't go gently, y'all.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
An intelligent man learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from other people's mistakes.
Absolutely.
So,
100%.
You can be intelligent, but you need to be wise.
Yes.
That the wisdom of watching someone else do something and go,
yeah, I don't want to do that.
Let's not do that.
Yes.
But look, anybody, anywhere, anything from school to, playing sports, if making a bad decision is always the best learning mechanism.
Yes.
Because you're going to make them. Then you say, well, if I do this and this is going to happen.
Yeah.
So I need to learn how to not do that. And, what do I need to do to improve myself in that way? And, politics and public work is no different in that regard.
Right.
You make your mistakes, you learn from them, and you move on.
Yeah, exactly. Now, for those listeners out there that may not realize exactly what a councilman does, there's some people out there, I'm fond of saying politicians would be amazed at the amount of people that either A, they could really care less about politics, or B, they just don't have time to worry about politics. They go home, they're raising kids, they're bringing people to ballparks, they're working at the plant, they're coming home, they're sleeping, they're getting up, they're going to the plant, and that's their life. Yep. So they don't realize maybe that there's an administrative side of the council and there's another side of the council, which is your side. So kind of tell us the difference between those two sides.
Well, I think it's important to say right off the bat that the way the parish was ran up prior to 96, when we took the Home Rules Charter version of government, we adopted that. It was ran by police jurors.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people, and it's less now because people are actually more politically savvy than they were 10 years ago.
Yes, absolutely.
Because they're seeing we need to make changes in this parish, on a big scale. But the police juror system, so it was like an untold amount of time up until 96, where there was no parish president. You had police jurors for each area, and they kind of controlled the money.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Jim Chapman reminding you that if you have not heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. 1, it's free. 2, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. 3, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more platforms. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's really everything you need to make a podcast in only one place. It makes it easy, folks. So do me a favor, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Controlled where the ditches were dug and what was clean, and which roads were overlaid, if you will, or taken care of, and they controlled the money. But when we took the Home Rules Charter form of government, it basically split it up, kind of like at the federal level or even at the state level. You have the legislative branch, which is, if you will, it's your Congress, so to speak. and they make laws, and that's us. We
Yes.
make laws. We look at the budget. We ratify the budget presented to us from the executive branch administration, which is the parish president.
Yes.
So, we can make ordinances / laws. We can adjust them. We can get rid of them. That's our job, and we look at the budget that's presented to us from the parish president, from the executive branch.
Yes.
And we either say, okay, this is fine. We need to change this. We need to adjust, we can do this now. That's what we do.
Yeah.
That's it, essentially.
Yeah.
And sometimes I carry around the homeowner's charter because it feels like, you need to, I asked to have this ditch cleaned or this road. And I'm like, that's not in our purview.
Right.
And there's hardly any way to present that without it sounding like we're passing the buck.
Yeah.
But
I voted for you.
Yeah. Well, we don't have that authority.
Right.
And it's frustrating because,
Sure.
To some degree, if I'm going to get blamed for something, I would then give me the authority.
Yeah.
But then if I do something wrong in that regard, and you can hold me accountable for that, because we're held accountable by the voters.
Right.
But it's frustrating to be held accountable for something that you have no control over.
No doubt.
And that's kind of the issue there. So the parish president, they do the day-to-day stuff. They say this, we're going to go and clean these ditches. We're going to, this is the road we're going to go fix today. We're going to, clean up this area. They make basically all the decisions, the day-to-day decisions. And, we make the ordinance. If there's an ordinance that needs to be adjusted to cover something else, or, we need to make an ordinance that covers, something that hadn't thought of. The world changes.
Yes. Yes. COVID.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Then we'll make those. Sometimes the sheriff's department will have something that they can enforce, like people parking on the roads in neighborhoods. They're blocking fire hydrants and they're making it hard for people to see. And so there wasn't a specific law that says you couldn't do that. So, we had to make one. It's really a safety measure too. You get these neighborhoods where the houses are, that are kind of close together. Someone's parked in the road. I mean, if they're parked in the road, you can't see a child run out. They're on the other side of that car and they just bolt out in front of you. It's a health issue. I mean, it's
and
bad.
It happens,
and it does happen. So if a fire truck needs to get in there, they can't get in there because they can't get to the fire truck. You can't get a fire truck if you got people double parked on the road. So that's just an example. So
that's a good example. The reason I bring that up is I think sometimes there is a misconception over who controls what, or controls a bad word, but whose responsibility it is relative to certain things that take place in the parish council. And there are some things that fall directly under the purview of the parish president and that administrative side. And then there are some things that you guys get together and you're looking at plats, right? You're looking at all these things. If you've ever been to a council meeting, it's a ball of fun because 90% of the time it's looking at plats and basically determining if someone is following procedure with that neighborhood or whatever it is they're doing. And in what you see in the news a lot of times or on social media is when you have controversial things that come up, but that's not every single time there's a meeting. It just seems like that because those are the ones everybody talks about,
and that's
right?
the ones that get the most attention.
Yes.
So it seems that way.
Let's talk about drainage a little bit. This is a subject, and after this, folks, we're going to talk a little bit about zoning. But drainage is something that it seems like it's an ongoing discussion not only in the council, but people of the parish, in general. All the citizens here are concerned. 2016 didn't help. I mean, when 2016 occurred, it really shined a light on drainage and it made things a lot less or a lot more problematic. with
Sure.
drainage. So I guess the first thing I want to talk about is explain to people, you know, you have gravity drainage district 1, district 2, all these gravity drainage districts. That's who I would assume controlled a lot of the process of cleaning out ditches and stuff like that. So it's not parish council employees per se going out there and cleaning all this, right?
No, the drainage districts typically are there to clean, I guess, what they call the laterals.
Mm-hmm.
The ditches that drain, like the main tributaries that drain through your roadside ditch.
Yes.
There are 1, 2, 3. Well, now there's 4 drainage districts for the parish. There were 5, but drainage district 1, drainage district 2, and drainage district 5 are all funded.
Yes.
Which means that the people in those areas, which, for lack of a better way of putting it, would be, you know, Denham Springs, Walker, Watson.
Yeah. The highly populated.
Populated areas.
Yes.
They went I guess the councilman, or would have been at that time, maybe the police jurors in that area, said, look, we want to ask for a separate millage, and I think there's, in the case of Denham Springs, they have one. They have like a partial millage and a sales tax to address drainage just in our area. And so they brought it to the polls, and it passed in those 3 districts. So they have extra money. Those districts are funded.
Very well funded in some cases.
And
Gravity drainage 1 is
and it's picked up for them too because of the, you know, the sales. You know, they have you know, the car dealerships come in, and the Walmarts and the you know, the Bass Pros. So, you know, they're getting that half cent, you know, there, plus a little millage. So, you know, theirs are growing, and Walker's and Watson's both, they've kind of increased over time because, you know, people move in, and Gravity 5 works strictly on a millage. So, you know, they get the millage, but it only for the people in those districts.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, they get a nice little chunk of money, and they do well. They spread that out pretty well.
Yeah.
You know, it's managed well.
Do a good job.
Yeah, they do an excellent job. They operate kind of outside of the parish council. Mm-hmm. Parish council has it's their job to appoint the board members, and then it kind of ceases at that.
Yeah,
you know,
they're trusting those guys to go out there,
and you know, they need a governmental entity to put board members, you know, so those board members can run their districts.
Sure.
You know, that's why it's imperative to put someone who lives in that district on that board, you know?
Yeah.
And you have to.
Yes.
That's part of it. So,
yeah.
But you know, these are just ordinary everyday citizens that go out there and they get on that board, they get on the board and they make sure that the right decisions are made. And look, I'm very familiar with District 5 because that's the one, it encompasses all of Walker.
Yeah,
and a lot of the surrounding areas of Walker, and I know they do well. They don't spend money, you know, willy nilly.
Yeah,
they go out and do the right thing. So
sure.
The issue though is that it would be the unfunded district, or it's the unfunded district now. They don't have a separate millage or sales tax or anything to fund them. So they basically have zero money, $0.
And zero support.
Zero.
With regard to drainage.
Yeah. Now, they've tried to get it done, and it's been close, you know. You know, I say close, you know, probably 45, 55.
Yeah.
You know, it's failed around that. But you know, without that support there, then they get nothing done. And the bigger issue, that's a problem for them. It's a problem for us because they are downstream. So
yes,
you know,
it's all coming.
Yeah,
you know,
it comes down. You know, I tell people, look, you know, we could have 10 times the money that my drainage district has. And, you could go out there and make beautiful, ditches, but as soon as it hits the unfunded district, it's going to back up.
Right.
So we have to figure out a mechanism to get that district funded.
Agreed 100%.
And here's the thing. It's like 75% of the parish is in an unfunded district.
Yep.
I mean, let that sink in.
Yeah.
And it's not at the top.
I didn't even realize it was that high.
It's not at the top of the parish. It's at the bottom.
Now, and let me say this, Tracy, some folks would say, well, it's 75% of the parish, but what's the population in that part of the parish?
Well, over half.
There you go.
Because districts are the council districts, mm-hmm. which they're different from the drainage districts. But the council districts, I know, Mr. Mack's district, entirely unfunded.
Yeah. Mr.
DeLatte's district, entirely unfunded.
That's just crazy to me.
Mr. Ard's district, I would say 90%, maybe a little more, unfunded.
Yeah.
Mr. McMorris, probably geographically, 75%, 80% unfunded.
Yes.
And I just rattled off 4 people.
Yes, off the top of your head.
Yeah, that's almost half the council. So, yeah, I mean, and
that's a problem.
And if you take into account, this is why 75% or around that number of the parish geographically is unfunded, because when you divide your council districts up by population, so like Mr. Ard's district, he's twice as big or 3 times as big or something around that than my district geographically, because I have more people tight knit, kind of like Denham Springs.
Yes.
But he has to get a whole bunch more land area to get the numbers right to match me.
Yes.
That's why his district is so much bigger. But that also takes in the parish. And we're not talking about, when you're talking about drainage, it's the population of people in that district is less important than if you got a district that's, let's say if it's an area you got to go across that's 5 miles, and there's a canal that runs through that 5 miles. It doesn't matter if there's 5 people living on that or 500 people living on that. That ditch has to be cleaned.
100%.
Because it's
100%.
coming down. You're not just protecting the people that live around that 5 little mile area. You're protecting the people that the water upstream where the populations are, or the ones downstream where the populations are. So you've got to get that ditch clean. Yeah. And, you're relying strictly on parish, the parish government funds, which isn't that much money.
Right.
A lot of people will say, I pay a lot in taxes, and you might, but, or you might not. And if you compare it to the rest of the country, it's debatable, but we'll go on the assumption that you do. So what are you paying to? You're paying to the school board. The school board comes and says, hey, look, we want to put a millage in because we want to build a new school. We want to update our school. We want to do, and they go to the people of that area, and that has a selling price. It has a sell.
Who's going to turn down?
Yeah, you're going to go. I want the kids to have a nice school.
Of course.
I want our schools to be good. You can put
attract
a good
people.
And so people vote for that.
Sure.
The sheriff's department comes in and says, look, they asked for some money typically, and we need more deputies. We need more cars. We need to. So people say, well, I like to feel safe. Our crime rate is relatively low, on the low side, if not low, really low compared to national average. Yeah. That's a selling point.
Compared to Baton Rouge.
Sure. Exactly. So you can sell that. People will go and vote for that because it's, there's something you can look at. If I do this, then this will happen, and I like the end result. So, those pass. Parish government comes to you and says, hey, we need more money to just operate and do stuff. It's not a good sell. It's not an easy sell.
Yeah.
Because you're like, for what? already paid this much. Yeah, but we can't touch their money. You gave them money. You didn't give money to the parish government.
Yes.
You know, it's not like, well, you can take some of their taxes and help do this. No.
Yeah, go try to do that.
Yeah. I mean,
nobody likes that.
The sheriff's department and the school board will come after you hard, you know.
Hard.
And, you know, and so it's not an easy sell. And,
right.
And I fear it never will be. And I would be for, if we did a parish-wide drainage district. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk perfect world here, I guess. You know?
Yeah. I was going to ask you why that doesn't exist already.
It doesn't exist because I feel like years ago they tried to do that, and it was voted down, and they looked at the poll numbers and where the yeses and nos came from, and most of the nos came from the eastern side of the parish.
So
and
basically the heavy populated parts, you know, one of the things that I've heard in the past, just talking to people, is that one of the issues is the heavier populated parts of the parish, those districts. Well, you know, we're getting most of the taxes, we're getting most of the money, so we don't think it's fair to spread that out to these less populated areas. Now, I totally disagree with that because I understand how water flows, right?
Sure.
And a dam is a dam. It doesn't matter if it occurs 10 miles downstream or upstream or not. Well, it's still blocking. It blocks everybody, you know, blocks everybody.
Well, you know, it's like the road overlay program, which passed last year, the renewal.
Yes.
That, you know, that the majority of that money is collected in Walker, Denham, and Watson. It's just the things that collect the money there are Walmarts, Home Depots, Bass Pros. That's where the chunk of that money is collected, and all of those are in the western part of the parish.
Yes,
and I know, you know, we have some smaller grocery store chains like the Carters and stuff. Yeah, they have a couple of there.
Quarters.
Yeah, me too. But you know, I know that more than 1/9 of that money, if you take all that money at the end of the day and it's sitting in a bank account, I know that more than 1/9, because the 9 districts of that money was collected in my district.
Yes.
So, but we can't be greedy like that, and we're not. My district, you know, never gets what it puts in.
Right.
Because you have to give some money or let some money go over there. Now, it's once again out of my control, but I understand the logic behind that. Some work has to get done over there. And, you know, so it's one of those situations where you have to do what's better for the parish.
Yes.
And, you know,
that's a great point.
I won't let my district suffer for that. But sometimes you have to go, look, we have to do stuff over there. And so that's my argument to people. Say, well, look, you know, they clean the roads are better over in Denham and Walker and Watson. Well, I mean, they probably are, you know, but you also have to make those roads passable and good that get you to the places where the money is spent.
They're
collected.
Also highly traveled roads.
And you have to keep the roads good in the areas where the money is collected.
Yeah.
The Walmarts, the Home Depots.
They're not wanting potholes everywhere.
So you to keep the money coming in, you have to keep those areas good. And look, the road overlay program, in the next 10 years, you're going to see twice as much work being done than was done before, because, you know, they took out a huge bond.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, oh, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Whenever they first enacted it years ago.
Yeah.
And we spent until I think February of this year paying that bond off.
Yeah.
I'm not I don't know if I would have done that because, you can get a bunch of work done. If you have, before then the roads in the whole parish everywhere were atrocious. And we're going way back, 15, 16 years. They were atrocious. So they pass this, the money, the tax, and then they go out and take a huge bond out and they do a whole bunch of work at one time.
Yeah.
And then so everybody's like, oh, this is great. We didn't realize we just borrowed a whole bunch of money that's going to take that entire 15 years to pay off.
Yes.
And by the time it's paid off, a lot of those roads need fixing again.
Yeah.
So there's no way I would do a bond again.
Yeah. It's kind of like getting a car note, and by the time you pay it off, you got to get a new car, right? Yeah. So you're in a car note hole.
And I would not do a bond again. The only way I would do a bond, it had to be a partial one, and it had to be for a new road. I'm talking about a brand spanking road cutting through the woods somewhere.
Yeah.
That would alleviate a lot of traffic off of the roads we currently have. And even then I would be very leery about how much is this new road going to help.
Yeah.
Then I would do the bond for that, but it wouldn't be to the size or the scale of the bond that they took out last time. Because literally, over half that money was going to pay off that bond every month.
Yeah.
And, that's roads you could be doing as you go. And we're gonna get a lot more done, because I think that's the mentality. I wouldn't vote for a bond to go do a bunch of roads right now.
So to wrap kind of that discussion up, one thing, if I can say, it sounds like you are someone that would be for kind of consolidating into one just big gravity drainage.
I'm glad you brought me back to that, because there was a point I needed to make. I would do this, but I would be for it, but only under one stipulation, I guess. It would have to be a flat fee.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it
as a tax.
Right. Because I believe that everyone should pay the same. Now, if you wanted to take what the funded districts made collectively and average that, and said, look, okay, and that breaks down to this much a year.
Yeah.
This is how much we're going to charge. And everybody pays that.
Yeah.
If you have an address, you pay it.
Yeah.
Then you have people who, if you have a $100,000 house, or you have a $500,000 house, you're paying the same. Then I'm okay with it. I would be okay with that type of funding mechanism, because everybody's going to pay the same.
Yeah.
If a lot of houses will get exempted from tax, if you had homestead exemption, well, you
75,000 right off the top.
Well, so this person pays less. Look, everybody's flood. If your house floods, if your house is a $75,000 house, or a $275,000 house, or $300,000, your house still flooded,
right?
And everybody needs to pay the same, because we're all in this together.
I agree with that.
And we have to look at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be mindful of our neighbors, and and understand there's only one way out of this, and it's not an easy road.
Some things you just have to pay for.
Yes.
And there's just nobody's going to do all the things that need to be done with drainage for free. It's got to come from something.
And you have
the people support.
People would have to be able to let go of, well, I don't want money moving out of my district. Well, and if you only have one district and everybody's paying the same, your district will be better served that way, because now we can go and clean out those areas that haven't been touched much for, you realize they are 75%, and I'm throwing that number out there, but it's close to it. It might be a little more, might be a little less of the parish that really hasn't been touched. So we need to get those canals clean. The best way I can help my district right now is to go clean downstream.
Right.
Because, and I won't ignore my district by my drainage district. But, at some point you're like, well, okay, we're pretty good. Let's go tackle that. And, you could move equipment around, and you could move equipment between places where it's needed. If I have a backhoe over here and I'm not doing backhoe work today, then by all means take it over there.
Yeah.
And work on so-and-so canal.
Yeah.
And we have to get this water from here to there. That's the overall mission, is to get it into Lake Marpaw.
Yes.
And if we get it there, we're good. So, and that's kind of the mindset that we all have to be in, because we can't just take care of our own anymore, because, you take care of yourself if no one else is willing to take care of themselves. But you get to a point where we have to look at that. We have to figure out a way to address that.
Yeah.
If someone came up with that, way of doing it, mechanism, a funding mechanism, or just how we can break this down. We do a flat fee. I don't think this is going to occur. It would be difficult, because you would have to get the funded districts to not fight you on it, and it's not without support.
Yes.
If you think that you get 42% of the population in the unfunded districts right now that were willing to pay, they just wasn't the majority.
Right.
You'd have to sell. I mean, it's just logic here. You'd have to sell at least 60%, 65% of the people in the funded districts on it. And you would probably get the 40 over there still, and then you would have enough to make it happen.
Yes.
But you would have to sell this on a scale where we can't look at ourselves as being these little districts anymore. This is a parish-wide problem. We are a coastal parish.
Yes. And we're a growing parish.
And we have to address this, in the mindset of as a parish, because we're addressing it now in Walker and Watson and Denham, and you see what happens. These things are out of our control.
Yeah.
I can make my ditches as clean as I need to be, but if it's coming back up, and it doesn't even have to be, you can rain. A wind will push that water back up.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Just wind.
Yeah.
So you have to, and it has to be a multiple. There's so many other things, that not just cleaning those ditches.
Yeah.
We have to,
blowing out gutters,
and you have to get these things, and it has to be on. You have to be on top of it. And 2016, I mean that. What they call that, 1,000-year event.
Yeah, it was definitely unprecedented.
Look, it was, but only a fool to think that that's not going to happen again.
Sure.
If you think, that won't happen again for another 1,000 years, well, I've got news for you. It's not going to be another 1,000 years before that happens again.
Yeah.
And to me, it seems the weather patterns are changing. Mm. I mean, I don't remember it being this in my entire life being like it is. And like I said, I've been here 51 years.
Yeah.
And I don't remember it being like this, so,
I don't know.
That will be the only way I would vote for it. It would have to be a flat fee. Everyone would have to pay the same. Everyone would pay the same.
Yeah.
And I would, then I could get behind that. Any other way, I just don't see. We're all going to have to be in this together. We're all going to have to pay the same.
100%.
Yeah.
100% agree with that. And so look for that next week in the Parish Council. Tracy will be putting that on the agenda.
I will support it. But I will also, anything short of what I just said, I will fight.
Yes, exactly. Well, it really does make sense. And so you do have some people up there in the council, and they're coming up with some things,
yes.
As far as ideas for the future on that. Now, want to get into zoning a little bit. Zoning is kind of a complicated subject. If you don't understand it, you don't understand it. It's not something people go home and they Google. Sum it up for people that may have no idea what it is. I know municipalities typically have zoning, like your city, city of Denham Springs, Walker, those type of places.
Livingston.
They're going to have these commercial zoned areas, and they're going to have these residential zoned areas, but you don't have them parish wide. You don't, in other words, outside of those city limits, you don't have it.
Yes.
Come explain that to us.
Well, at face value, it looks like it's one of these pieces of legislation that says, hey, we can lay out the area of development in our parish to where we can say in the future, this is where we want our residential areas to be. This is where we want our commercial areas to be. This is where we want our industrial, light industrial, like that.
Yeah.
Now, typically those things kind of work themselves out.
Yeah.
So, in a zoning map per se, if you put one in place, it is a document that is adjusted to fit, how development happens. Because we can look and say, hey, we take a fresh slate, where do we want the residential? Where we're going to kind of go where the residents are now, put residential there.
Yep.
And then to some degree that's very true. We put it in, but you do kind of change it as you go. This keeps, I guess churches from being next to a firing range or schools next to something else,
a bar next to a church,
and our church next to a bar. And I say it in that regard because like there are ordinances that keeps bars from coming in next to a church,
right?
So the ordinance protects the church in that regard.
Yeah,
but at the same time, if there's something else, it's probably a poor example, but there's other examples. You can keep highly traffic, areas where let's say it's industrial. Okay. I mean, right now if they wanted to put a Coca-Cola plant or a concrete plant or an asphalt plant or something along that right next to a neighborhood, they can do it because there's no zoning. As long as they can get past the back and forth of ordinances, which isn't really hard to do,
right?
Then they can do it.
Yeah.
We can't stop it, and that's kind of the crux of the problem. Zoning protects you from that type of scenario.
Yes,
where it kind of gives the council the authority that a lot of people think we have already.
Right.
And it's stuff we get blamed for, and then you get these huge developments on roads that can't handle that type of development or areas, and it creates traffic, and it just gives you a way to go, let's step back and go, this area we shouldn't be able to put a 600 house neighborhood here, on this little narrow road. It's going to be a logjam.
2-lane road. Yeah. And that's a great point. I do want to mention to all the listeners that may not be aware, look, they're not trying to reinvent the wheel here.
No.
This is something that it takes place in East Baton Rouge Parish. This is Ascension Parish has zoning. I'll tell you how important this is, folks. We just got named, yay, for Livingston Parish, the top 7 growing parishes in the state of Louisiana, according to the newspaper article I read this morning. And that's amazing to me, for one thing. Who would have? I mean, there's a lot of parishes. I don't know how many, but there's a bunch in Louisiana. We're top 7 growth in the entire state, and we don't have zoning. So guess what? Eventually, you're going to grow at such a rate you cannot control it because they're following the regulations as they're written. And so there's nothing the council members can do to stop stop that. They can't stop that plant from going in right next to that neighborhood.
Nope.
One of the reasons Ascension has zoning is because they are very industrial based there. They, especially with plants and stuff like that. And they knew, they had the foresight to know, eventually they're going to want to put this right next to a neighborhood. And if there's a dangerous chemical they're manufacturing over there, they could have an explosion. You could have, pollution go up in the air that you shouldn't be breathing, those sorts of things. So thank God they could zone it that way.
And we're going to.
Yes.
I mean, the up until I'd probably say, 2015, 2016. I think there was a lot of proponents of zoning, but it was more people were against it. But, at this point, it's people want it.
Yeah.
People
I think so too.
And it's a process that I wanted to do it early on. But I also knew that I didn't have the votes.
Yeah.
And so you play long ball.
Yeah.
And you say, look, we got to turn a couple of, at least one or two people on this. And unfortunately, the way you turn them is you have something happen in their district that they absolutely could have stopped with zoning.
Yeah.
Zoning protects you more than it takes your rights away.
Yeah. Nobody's looking to do that.
If you have a home or two, if you're lucky enough to have a house and a rental house or whatever, and you go to work every day and you come home and you mow your grass, you get something to eat, and then you shower, go to sleep, and repeat. Mm-hmm. This is going to do nothing but protect you. Mm-hmm. If you own 5,000 acres, you might not like it too much.
Yeah.
I mean, because I'm going to come, where the parish is going to come in and they're going to tell you what you can and can't do with that 5,000 acres.
Yeah.
And I'm just being honest up front.
They absolutely would, but not, Tracy, you're not a bunch of guys sitting on that council necessarily that's going to, you have evil intentions in mind.
No.
It would only be a situation where you were trying to put a chemical plant right next to a.
My loyalties lie with, my constituents.
Yes.
And we're talking about people who have lived here, even if it's for a year, 3 years, 5 years, 50 years, 100 years,
Sure.
been here forever. These are the people that voted to put me in office.
Absolutely.
And they might not have voted for me.
Yeah.
But, they are the people who I'm here to protect.
Yeah.
And they are first and foremost in my mind. So in my case, the development in District 7 is out of control.
Yeah.
It is flat out of control. And, so much so that, you look at, I think they did a study from 2010 to 2017, over 50% of new enrollment in a Livingston Parish school, over 50% took place in a Walker school.
They got a beautiful high school.
Well, they do indeed.
I gotta say.
And it's funded by the people. And and I'm very proud of that.
Yeah. Beautiful high school.
It is ridiculously beautiful. It looks like
and a beautiful city hall.
It looks like a junior college over there.
Yes.
And look, if you want to know where your money was spent, just go look.
Yeah.
They spent it. They spent it. They spent the money that you on that. And the principal out there, Jason St. Pierre, he's very savvy.
Yeah.
He goes out and he gets, he's a salesman and a great guy. But he's a salesman. He goes out there and he says, I need this and this, and he's going to get it at the best price possible.
Absolutely.
And look, that school is amazing. The stuff they have going on over there.
Really, and Walker in general, and I'm a Denham Springs guy, and everybody knows that. But I'm also a Livingston Parish guy, and I can respect growth, and I can respect. Excuse me. When someone's doing something right. And I'll tell you what, Walker is coming up, man. The city hall over there is just unbelievable.
It is beautiful.
The school is unbelievable, and here's the double-edged sword to what you were just saying. So I'm working my way around to that. Yes, it is out of control in your district the development there, but here's the double-edged sword to that. The development leads to people. The people lead to tax dollars. The tax dollars enable that.
Sure.
The schools, the city hall, all that stuff. So it's like, it's a hard choice.
It would have been 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not a hard choice now. Not for me.
Yeah.
And I don't believe for the people of Walker.
Yeah.
I'm not anti-development. What I want to do is see smarter development. And I want to see, houses that are built. If you're going to build a neighborhood to some degree, I want to see one that doesn't impact the people who already live here. And the way to look, where there's trees and woods now, at some point that's probably a drainage area for people who've lived here.
Yes.
We can't put stuff in those drainage areas and have it negatively impact the constituents of the parish.
Yeah.
If you zone these things, it kind of gives the council per se, I guess, the ability to say zoning is more than just saying, hey, you can build this here, you can build this here, you can build this here. It's more of a broader umbrella of authority.
Yeah.
And where you can say, I don't like the way this, it doesn't fit with the purview of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
And, we can take back control of the development in the parish itself. Because right now, it's, you can put ordinances down and there's always a way to go. Well, I won't say always. Usually there's a way around an ordinance if you just do. Because when you write ordinance, you got to be very specific.
Right.
And they will find a way to where you can't hold them to it. It's like a way I explained it. It's been to you or somebody. It's like you're walking a tightrope, and you have these little 6-foot nets that you put up underneath, and you put 30 of them out. You're walking this 30-yard stretch of tightrope, and you put 30 of them out there. Yeah. Those are your ordinances of protection. Well, they'll figure out a way to just push you at the right time when there's no net underneath you.
Yes.
And they skirt the ordinances because they, legally they're not needing a waiver. Boom. They're in. The zoning in place would be more of a big net so you can catch everything. And, and
that's a good analogy.
And we're not, now I know this isn't good for my area. I know it isn't. And then so you can stop that madness and we can take control back of the development. Because right now the developers are running this parish.
Yeah.
And
okay, round 2. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
And I guess the only way I can say it is we've allowed them to do it.
Sure.
Because the only way you can take control of that is to put a larger oversight, something in effect, where you can say, there's a neighborhood that goes in on this little road.
Yeah,
and there's 600 people
4 feet
there.
of water.
No, but on top of that, though, we need to look at, even if you do our zone and you do it correctly, we need to make sure there are better practices in what's going on now.
Right.
You know, how much drainage, dry retention, you know, retention ponds that have pumps on them. Mm-hmm. And you can put that money on the development itself, where, you know, if you build this neighborhood, this subdivision, I should say, or a neighborhood, and there's going to be a retention pond there, then that the person who buys into that neighborhood is going to pay a little more money every month to help maintain the pump, their retention pond.
Yeah.
And we're going to pump that pond down before an event and pump it down after, and give enough freeboard in the area from the top of the pond to where the water starts to have the offset for the dirt that they brought in.
Yeah.
To offset, you know, that's really what a retention pond's supposed to be.
Yes.
You know, the volume of water should be equal to or more than the amount of dirt you brought in.
That's right.
And that's not happening right now. I don't care what anyone says. They'll tell you, "Oh, no, it's not," because they're using those retention ponds as like a lakefront type property, or
they're promoting it that way.
I don't. And look, I understand that.
Sure.
But this is a retention pond first.
Yeah.
And if you got 3 foot of freeboard, so be it.
Yeah.
You know,
put a 6-foot fountain in there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And look, let's face it. These are neighborhoods or subdivisions that don't exist yet.
Yeah.
And we need to make requirements on these neighborhoods and these developments that come in to say, look, this is what you're going to pay.
Yeah.
And it's going to be, you know, it's going to be for the whole time you have the house.
Yeah.
It might be $10 a month, or I don't know what it is, but you're going to pay in to maintain your.
So who's maintaining it now?
Well, that's the thing. You know, you have HOAs that I have zero faith in HOAs.
Right.
Because, you know.
And you know, nobody's making them do that.
No.
They just do it.
And then, you know,
own.
so the pond gets all icky and full of, you know, sludge, and then, you know, they go and say, well, we need to clean this. We need to clean it out. Well, the parish really doesn't have jurisdiction to go in.
Yeah.
And even if they say, well, you can have it too in there, then, you know, you got all these fences up against it. There's no way to get to it.
Yeah.
You know, because there is no servitude or right of way around it.
Right.
So, you know, we can clean it out, but then you have to tear your fence down.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Leighton Ricks, Livingston Parish President. Since its approval by the Livingston Parish School Board in 2010, Mighty Moms has been grateful to have a project that allows them to spread love with one full tummy at a time. Each week, bags of food are distributed before the weekend to those children that are at risk for weekend hunger. This is accomplished through the generosity and love of many, many people. To date, Mighty Moms has delivered 112,804 full tummy bags. September the 1st is Childhood Hunger Awareness Day for Livingston Parish Public Schools. This is a great opportunity for us all to take a look at the reality of food insecurity in our parish. Mighty Moms need your support to continue in the mission of seeing all children graduate with full minds and full tummies. Visit mightymoms.org on ways that you can partner with them and help the future leaders of Livingston Parish. Together, we can make a difference.
Hey, folks, we just took a little break. We actually ran out of battery. We love this subject so much of zoning that we ran out of battery, but we're back. And as you were saying, Tracy, you know, the issue with not having the zoning, obviously, just to sum that part up, is that you can't really control where that growth is taking place. So,
yes.
I mean, it's probably important to say, you know, nobody is anti-development per se. It's just you need to make sure it's quality development and it's occurring where you're not taking, you know, current constituents of yours and throwing a bunch of water on them or,
correct,
or whatever. So
that's what's happening now.
Yes.
I mean, nobody wants to say that out loud, but that's what's happening right now. And it needs to stop.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And Tracy's serious about that. He looks like he's got a mean face.
Because, you know, it needs
to stop.
It does need to stop. You know, and it needs to stop. And
and it won't until zoning exists.
Well, and then we can actually, you know, zoning is, like I said, it's fluid. It changes. You know, you can change the rules, but and it should.
Yeah.
But you know, we need to put the people of the parish first.
Sure.
And
the people that are here that have,
and you know, that mindset that I guess the pre-Livingston Parish, you know, you know, we can't afford to live that way anymore. We can't afford to think that way anymore. We need to think, you know, I'm all for maintaining who we are.
Yes.
You know, at the same time though, we can't afford to not act, because we'll find ourselves in a situation that's, you know.
Well, we're already kind of halfway there.
We are.
Seventh growing parish in the state. It's
and so we need to stop the bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
And the zoning will help stop the bleeding. Will it fix the problems altogether? It'll fix them from getting worse.
Yeah.
And you know, and that's where we need to start. You've got to stop the bleeding first, and then we can really tackle on fixing the issues at hand.
100%. And now the last question on that is, okay, so let's say we've done swayed half of Livingston Parish over the zoning way, and they're like, yes, let's zone. We're all for Tracy, you know, and his thought process on that. How does this occur? Do the council members only vote for that, or is that a parish-wide vote?
No, the council members vote.
Okay.
And it's a two-part process.
Mm-hmm.
The first part is, which they have completed and we introduced last Thursday, is the language.
Yes.
And, you know, what categories of what the category is going to be. Okay. Commercial, residential, you know, industrial, light industrial, and we have
agriculture.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we have ones like undefined.
Yeah.
And there's many categories there, but you know, that's the first part.
Yeah.
We introduced that language. It was introduced, like I said, last Thursday. We'll vote on it next Thursday. And then the second part is the maps. You know, the local AFA, Alvin Fairburn Associates, they're the ones they're going to draw the maps up for us, what they think with input from the councilman, how that area should be. Now, that part won't be as hard for like me, because Walker is 80% of my district.
Yeah.
It's already zoned.
It's already zoned.
And then the rest is pretty, you know, if there's a house there, it's, you know.
It's residential.
Yeah. And so, you know, it'll be not a lot, I think, of hubbub with me and how it goes forward. You know, in the eastern part of the parish where there's not any zoning, they're going to have to go out there and just look and say, well, we think this is going to be this. And then you're going to have public meetings where the public can come in and give their opinion. What, you know, on this, I would like it to be this. That's fine.
Yeah.
You know, you get the public involved in that, because they have to be very much involved in it, because they have to be, you know, we have to sell them on this being a good thing. And and it is a good thing.
Sure.
You know, there was some uproar when Walker zoned, and, you know, they zoned it, and the sun came up the next day. And, you know, and that's the thing about zoning. You don't know how it protects you when it does, but you definitely know how it doesn't when you don't have it.
Yes, very true.
You know,
very true.
And there's a lot of things that even like, you know, in Walker, the mayor or the councilman never hear about, because they might see a piece of land and say, hey, let's build this here. And they go, oh, well, that's zoned.
Yeah.
That's zoned commercial. We can't put a neighborhood there. And it just goes away.
Yeah.
They make one phone call and they're just like, well, and they're not going to change that. So, you know, there's at some level, nobody hears about it.
That raises a question that I would have, and that would be, once you zone something. So I'll give you an example. Jubin, you know, the big Jubin development.
Yeah.
Okay. So there might have been let's play devil's advocate. There might have been a point in time where people went out there and maybe zoning was about to be passed, and they said, this is going to be residential. And then look at it now. It's a major commercial thoroughfare and has done very well. My question would be, once something is zoned, can that ever change?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. But it would fall. We're going to have a planning. We're going to have a zoning board, a zoning commission. In my mind, it's probably going to be the same as planning. You just put planning and zoning the same thing.
Sure.
But I'm open to that on however they do that.
Yeah.
They'll give their recommendation.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's going to be like planning is. The council's going to decide.
Yeah.
Because that planning board member wasn't elected.
Right.
They were appointed by the councilman, the person so they have to stand and face the music on that.
Yeah.
Yay or nay, however they decide. Because there's some things that might make sense. This is zoned, commercial, and there's nothing commercial around it, and there's this big neighborhood that was over here, and now they want to. And you might look at it and go, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's hard to imagine things, but believe me, anything and everything will come before you at some point, and where you go, oh, that makes sense.
Yes.
Or absolutely not. It's going to be more of absolutely not. You're not going to do that. So then, but yes, they can change it with the zoning, planning zoning representative will make their recommendation. They'll vote. It comes to the council. It doesn't matter if it's 9-0 there.
Yeah.
It's still going to come to us.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was a question like someone had asked that. There's no way I'm passing that on to someone I appoint. Right. I'm not giving someone that I appoint that much power.
Yeah.
I mean, because it is power.
Absolutely.
And
they're representing one person, that person being the councilman, but they're not, you're representing however many voters put you in office.
They're representing, I don't micromanage any of my my board members.
Yeah.
But, in that particular case, I would, I don't want to put that on him. Right. Because he's not the one that people went into the ballot box and went click.
That's right.
At the end of the day, it's going to be me or any of those people that I'm going to decide no or yes.
Yeah.
And because I was the one that the people of my district put their faith in when they elected me to office.
And you appointed that guy.
And if it's bad,
gal.
And if it's bad, it's bad. If it's if it's good, it's good. But I was the one that they put into office to make those decisions, not an appointment of mine.
Yeah. Very good point. Very good point. So zoning most likely coming to Livingston Parish.
It's coming.
They film these and you can watch them on YouTube and things like that. And so you don't have to attend in person. I know with COVID and everything. And that's a question I did want to ask you as well. You Zoomed the last meeting?
Yes, we Zoomed the last meeting.
That was fun.
And the difficult thing is, that people want to speak. And if it's not on the agenda, then we legally cannot talk about it.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
Because, whatever the subject matter is that someone wants to speak about that's not on the agenda and they want to speak about it, there could be someone with the opposite opinion.
That's right.
That didn't get the chance to voice their opinion because it wasn't on the agenda.
Right.
So you have to be, and in that particular case, you had the gentleman and the lady that had, one of them had a son that had drowned, and the other one had a husband. And, you have to be, as well you should, you have to be cognizant of where they're at.
Yes.
And
absolutely. It's awful.
But at the same time, you can't talk about that because it's not on the agenda.
Right.
It's
going on a record.
Yes. And so you have to kind of back away and say, look, I'll call you. And that's what Chairman Talbert did.
Yeah.
They were outside I think he called one of them, wasn't there, and then he talked to the other gentleman who was outside the building thinking that the council was meeting that night,
Yeah.
And he just said, as soon as I'm done, I'll walk out there and talk to you. And this is what he did.
Sure.
But, legally you got to go.
Yeah.
You got to cut that off because we can't talk about those things that aren't on the agenda.
Yeah.
Because it's not
even if you want to.
It's not even up for debate. It's against the law.
Right.
And you can't do it.
That's it. You can't do it. So, I would assume the next council meeting as of right now, or have you made a decision if that's going to be Zoomed or if you're allowing in person?
Well, that's the chairman's call, but I assume that it's probably going to be Zoomed.
Yeah, I would probably make that assumption myself. Now, how often do these council meetings take place?
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2
Second
weeks.
and fourth Thursday of the month.
So there you go, folks. And so pay attention to those. If you want to know what's going on with your councilman and what he's doing to help improve your district, you can see Tracy Girlinghouse is working hard over there in District
and look,
7.
We have an ordinance committee meeting on the same week.
Yeah.
Tuesday of the same week. So next week we'll have an ordinance committee meeting on Tuesday. And it's tough to get into it when it's Zoomed.
Yeah, it really is.
The ordinance committee meetings, I'm not as rigid because we're discussing how we want an ordinance to be shaped for the council to discuss.
Yes.
So it's more like an open discussion.
Yeah.
Where the council meetings are pretty rigid because you got to follow Robert's rules.
Yes.
You don't want to get out of hand quickly.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of have a more round table. We do follow the rules, but if someone else speaks up, I don't necessarily have to go to one of the other board members on the ordinance committee, the committee members. I don't go, oh, you don't have to be recognized by the chair.
Yeah.
If someone else is done talking on the board,
right,
another person can just start talking and allow it to happen. But you can't really do that
right
in a council meeting because you got 9 people and usually a room full of people. And so you have to be a little more strict. At least I was when I was chairman.
Sure. I agree with that.
So, but at the ordinance committee, it's more like if you're in the crowd and come on up, and stand at the podium to where we can hear you, and you give your name and address and tell us, what you learn a lot from the public.
Yeah.
People come up there and they'll just bring up you're like, what? I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
We need to factor that too, because sometimes, you learn. I love when people come.
Yes.
Because you do learn a lot, what sometimes you get so, pigeonholed on something.
Yes.
That you can't see something obvious from the outside that comes in and you're just like, oh, wait, wow.
Yeah.
None of us thought of that.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Write that down.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you learn a lot from being an observer sometimes as much as you do from any kind of research you could do online or anything else. Ma'am, one thing I'll say is if you're someone that is not familiar with Tracy Girlinghouse and in that district of District 7, all you got to do is look over there to see the work you've done. Oh. And it's a beautiful part of Livingston Parish. It is growing. It is, no one can take that away from you, man.
Well,
of course, it's a team effort.
It is, absolutely.
But
there's been good administrations at Walker. There have been these guys that in my mindset is you want to have some growth.
Yeah.
But you have to have you kind of have to have the reins on it, to where you grow responsibly.
Yes.
And more
good growth.
And just as important, you don't lose sight of who you are and who you want to be. That's one thing I've always loved about my community is that, it is a sense of home and community. Mm-hmm. And when you start growing, that's usually the first thing to start slipping.
Right.
And I felt like that, we've had leadership there that has said, no, we're going to grow. We're going to build this big new school and we're going to have but I don't want to lose track of who we are.
We're Livingston Parish, and that's right.
And I'm all about that.
LP first.
Well, Walker.
Yeah, Walker. Well, yes, but as a parish, as
a parish, yes.
Yes,
but I'm a Walker guy, through and through.
Yeah,
and I always will be, and I'll die that guy.
Yeah,
and
so I can't get you to say go Jackets.
No. No, you and Buddy Messy.
Had him in here yesterday. You got him to do it.
You and Buddy Messy. Look, it's funny. My girlfriend's daughter graduated from Denham, and I went to her graduation, and they were like, my girlfriend's like, oh, you need to wear this purple shirt, which I have one.
Yeah.
like for LSU, and I was just like, come on, man, you're seriously going to make me wear this purple shirt? And I said, okay, I'll wear it. And so, we're on the visitor side.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to see anybody.
Yeah. Oh, Lord.
And I walked by, and this is before Buddy was elected. Buddy say, I walked by, and Buddy walks by me, and I was like, hey, how's it going? That's and he was like, so, and then he goes, wait. And I was like, he goes, I cannot believe this right now. He had his wife come over and take a picture of me and him. And then he was running. I said, you're going to have to wear green when you come walking. Because I know you planning on running for state rep.
Yes.
And I made him wear the green too. So,
that's right.
So
very good. Very good. Yeah. So, man, I enjoyed it. This was a great discussion. I hope the listeners out there, all of y'all, I know we went a little longer than usual. Hopefully you're all still there. And check out those council meetings. I do appreciate you coming on. If you want, you can subscribe to the podcast. Please share the podcast. We really love that. It's important. Let's get our name and word out there to all these people on what we're doing here in Livingston Parish. Until next time, I am Jim Chapman, reminding you, love your community, support local business, and keep leading. Thank you very much. Fit Blends of Denham Springs can help you with everything from meal prep to supplements. I love it that they serve breakfast all day in addition to the best ultra healthy wraps you can really get anywhere in Livingston Parish. They are home of the $5 Smoothie Friday and are an amazing sponsor of Local Leaders, the podcast. Fit Blends Denham Springs, fast, fit food for you.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.